Hey guys, I've already made the axe video. I'm gonna try and explain how to make a sword now. As I said beforehand, I'm not gonna be releasing these weapons. Um, and I won't be testing them in the game, but I'm sure, about 99% sure, the weapons will work in game perfectly fine. So I will be going over how to make a sword today. The damages including a sword, the colliders, etc. And then I'll be going over the JSON as I did in the axe video if you haven't already seen that. So, first things first, we go onto Sketchfab or any of the 3D modeling site, and I'm just going to get a sword. Simple sword here. I download the model, DAE file. So, as I explained in the axe video, Unity doesn't accept some 3D files, like for instance GLTF here. What you have to do is you have to go into Blender. You have to move the model over to Blender via a plugin, because Blender doesn't officially support it unless you get the plugin for it. And then you can convert it into like an FBX or something that Unity can see. Alright, so now that that's done, I open the file and move it to a folder. So I'll create a new one here called Video Sword. So I'm running down with a bit of a cold right now, so I may sound a little bit sick. So I move the files over to the folder. In the source, you should see a model zip, or you should see the model. So you extract here, and there's your model. Now you go into Unity, and you make a new folder in Unity. So I'll create one under my weapons folder. So these are unfinished weapons. Right here. Okay, maybe not there. Here it is. So I create a new folder. I'll call it Video Sword. Okay, so I have this. Now I move the model down, and then I go into textures, and as you can see, this model is split up, which is great. I'm only going to copy the albedo and the normal textures. So while that moves over, okay. So now I drag the weapon into a box, and there we have it. There's our weapon there. Now, I don't know how big this is, so what I will do is I will go into prefabs, get the example dagger, remove the tag, and flip it 90 degrees. Wrong way. As you can see, the sword is massive compared to the dagger. So I want to go into the model, not just the size, probably 0.6 for each scale. Yep, that looks about right. So now I remove the example dagger. So now what you want to do is you want to right click the model in the hierarchy, unpack the prefab. Now you should have your two models here. So now you go back to that folder and you drag the textures on. So the leather is obviously cube, so I will drag that on, and then I will drag the other albedo to cube 1. This is what the sword looks like, but there's no detail yet. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to click on the leather part. I'm going to click on the down arrow for the shaders, and I'm going to move the normal file to the normal map, and then click fix now. Now you can see it has a bit of detail. If I wanted to add more detail, I can increase this number to 3, 6, just to give it a bit more detail. With the shaders, which I will get more into now, you can change it to albedo, which is best for leather. Disable these two, and increase the metallic as much as you please. Now for cube 1, I will do exactly the same. Okay, so as you can see, there's more detail. I'm going to add more detail by increasing the normal map to probably 3, makes it a bit lighter. Now, if I wanted to make this shiny, which I recommend everyone do, for instance, if you wanted to add a little bit of reflection to it, like it's metal and not plastic, I normally increase the smoothness to 1, and I increase the metallic by, say, 0.25-ish. The shinier you want it, the higher the metallic is, but if it's all the way at the top, it'll just be black. So I normally keep it about 125 to 2. 0.125 to 2, sorry. And then I want to go down to the UV0 for the UV set and change that to UV1. And there you go. It should be shinier now, even though you can't see it. Okay. So next thing to do is you right click on the hierarchy, you create empty, and you name your weapon to, say, video sword, for example. Now you rename the model part to models, and you drag it under video sword. This is the main parent hierarchy. It's quite important. So the next thing you want to do is you want to add component to the main hierarchy, and you want to add item definition. So I have an edited version of this, but I won't get into that because it's not that important anyway. So, okay, so this is my sword now. It has the models. I will now get into the item definition. So the item ID is what you want the ID to be. So it'd be best if you name this to something like video sword. I normally keep it the same name as my hierarchy just so I don't get confused. And holder point. So the holder point depicts where the weapon is handled on your waist or when it spawns. Now, before I do that, I'm going to make sure the position of the weapon and the models is 0, 0, 0. Therefore, the holder point is in center. Perfect. So, now that's done, so you want to set yourself point to local here at the top. And the blue arrow depicts the location of where the weapon is pointing to the ground. So if I wanted the blade to be pointing to the ground when it's connected to me, I rotate it in a way that makes it so the blue arrow is pointing upwards. Like that. Now I want to make it to the hilt, because the hilt is the center point for the holder point. Next is the parry point. The parry point, you just put it where you want the enemies to parry when they're holding the weapon. Okay, so the preview depicts what the weapon looks like in the book. So I want to rotate this 90 degrees. Now I have a script which makes it so I can see the preview when I selected it. If you want to see the preview and you don't have this script, just click on the hierarchy, it will show. Okay, so as is shown, you do not have a whoosh point yet. So I will create a whoosh point, and I will put it at the top of the weapon as it shows where the noise should be when you swing the weapon. Once that's done, you drag the whoosh to the whoosh points. Done. The next thing to add now is a fly reference. You do not have to add these, however, I completely recommend it. So, fly ref. So, as the same as the holder point, the blue arrow has to point in the direction you want the sword to go. So I want it to fly upwards. So pointing sword down. So that's the direction the sword will be going when you throw it with telekinesis, or when you throw it like you'd throw a dagger. Of course, this has to be fly enabled in the item JSON. So then you drag the fly ref to the fly DIREF. Okay, so the next thing to do now is the colliders. So create an empty and name it colliders, then create an empty under that and name it to a part of the weapon. For example, right now I will do the handle, so I will name it handle. Oh, when I rename it. Right, so, and I will add a capsule collider. Okay, so now I will edit the colliders. Now I will be doing something funky with this weapon. I will add 3 pierces to it just to show the amount of diversity you can have with this weapon. So that's the handle, pretty straightforward. I want to edit the material to make sure that it fits the weapon, so I'm going to make it metal just because of the bottom. Okay, next I'm going to add a collider called guard. Now, I am actually going to add 2 because I'm going to do something special with the guard. So the guard is going to be a box collider, and it's going to be coming down onto there. Now, if you want it to be perfect, for instance, I'm going to make this 0.1 just to make it easier to change. So, if you want to make it easier to fit the handle, you click on the square on the axes and it will flatten everything out. So you can sort of do this, fit it as you please. Sides 2. Alright. So, as you can see in here, the guard kind of goes through the glade. So, I will add another guard handle. I will move it across for the other one. Name this guard 2. And then I will copy it. Guard middle. I will center it. It does not matter if colliders are conflicting with each other. It won't do anything harmful. So, okay. So, now that that's fitted, let me just extend this a bit more. So these are the 3 guards. I will do something with those in a sec. Now I'm going to create an empty called blade, which I'm going to make into a box collider. Now I'm going to be pretty lazy. I'm not going to do pinpoint colliders for this, because it's too much work and there's no point doing it for a video for a weapon I'm not going to release. But if you wanted to do pinpoint, you can either get hull painter, which costs roughly about 60 bucks, or you can do lots of squares. As I said before, conflicting colliders doesn't really do much. So, as you can see, I've made it a bit thicker than usual. If the blade, a collider, is too thin, then it will phase through the ground. It will sometimes not hit enemies. It can cause problems, so I make it a little bit thicker than usual. And of course, I want it to fit the blade as need be, just perfectly like that. Okay. So now the colliders are done. I gotta make sure that I set the material for each one. So you can highlight loads and then set the material. And for the guards, because I'm adding a damager to them, I want to apply dagger. Okay, so the next thing to do now is to go onto the main hierarchy, and you want to do collider groups. So I'm going to have 4 colliders, or 5 colliders, but on 4 groups. So I will add 4 groups. Now, the blade has 2 damagers, because it needs a slash, and it also needs a stab. So I will set the blade there, and I will imbue magic because blade. Now, ignore this part here because you don't probably have it. The next thing will be handle 1, and the handle 1 will be guard. I will also have it imbue magic. Then handle 2, which will be guard 2, and then blunt, which is the rest. So it'll be guard middle, and not that one. So it would be guard middle and handle. Okay. So right now we have blade, handle 1. I'm going to rename this to guard 1 just to avoid confusion. Okay. So that's done now. So the next thing I will add is a parry point. Sorry, not this parry point, but a parry definition. So the parry definition tells the enemies how to parry your attacks with this weapon. Now, the parry definition has to fit the entire weapon. So I will set it to maybe 0.7. That will do. That should be fine. Yep. So the parry point is set. You don't need to do anything else with that. Now you need to add a handle. I personally like to create 2, but I'll create 1 here. Handle definition. I will drag it down. So you can see this here. Oh, let me just center it. So you can see this here. This is the handle, right? This means it can only hold it this way. So you want to change the allowed orientations to 4. Element 0 you don't touch, and you change the rest to none for is default. Now you want to change element 1 Y to be 180, element 2 Z to be 180, and element 3 to both Y and Z to be 180. So now you can hold it in all ways. Okay. So that's all you do for that, except for the reach. So the reach you want to try and get to the tip of the handle. I have a script that tells me how to do it. But I believe it will be 1.6 probably. Around about 1.25. And then you want to change the touch radius. You don't really have to, I don't. But you can change the axis length to fit the handle perfectly. So as you can see here, it will go up and down that sort of way. Alright, so the next thing to do is the damager definitions. So as I said, I will be adding 5 to this weapon. So my first damager definition is going to be the slash of the blade. So I will add a damager definition, and I will just make it 1-1 for clarity reasons. So as you can see here, it's already done for me. The slash is pretty simple. There's the middle line, which is the pierce, and this line here, which is the slash. So the slash, you want it to fit the blade. That's the penetration length. So that seems to fit the blade pretty nicely. Doesn't matter if it goes slightly above. And for slash, your depth needs to be very, very small. Probably 0.003. Just to make it very small so it's barely noticeable. If you do have a depth, it's a possibility it can get stuck. When you have the depth and the length, it's normally fitting the slash of an axe. Okay, so the slash is done. Now I will add the pierce definition for the blade. So the pierce is opposite. So I'll make it 1-1 again. I am now going to rotate this 90 degrees. As soon as I can find the right rotation. So minus 90 degrees to make it so the length that's meant to be the slash is on the tip of the blade. Okay. Now the length goes to 0. It's not needed. Now you need to have a look how far the depth goes down the blade. So the depth depicts how far the stab can go through the blade. So I will set it to 0.14. And now you put it in the middle of the blade. That's the pierce definition. Now, I have missed one thing out, and that is the collider group name. So the collider group name is the collider groups. So the blade collider group is blade, as set here. So for the slash, I will set it to blade. And for pierce, I will also set it to blade. Now for pierce, if you want it to slash, you need to set the direction to forward. Okay, so the next thing I want to add now is blunt. The blunt damage definition has to be set at 0, 0. Now I set the collider group name to blunt because that's what I named it in the item definition, right? Here. So blunt is set to blunt, 0, 0, all. You don't really have to add anything there. Okay, so now I will get to the handle pierce. So I added 2 damage definitions. I will rename these to PS2. I will also rename this one to PS2. The reason for this is because they're both going to do the same damage. So because they're going to need the same damage, I can rename them to exactly the same, and I only need to reference them once in the item definition. So the PS is right up here. So I want to get rid of minus 90, I believe. Okay, I want to set it to 180. This is for PS1 and PS2. So the pierce is exactly the same as the blade. Doesn't matter if it's slightly out, it has to fit the blade. So I will set it to maybe 0.07. And then I will change the collider group name to guard 1. Now just to confirm, that's guard 1. In the item definition, that's guard 1 also. Good. So that's guard 1. Make sure to set it to forward as any other piercer. And now I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to rotate it so it fits the other way. And I'm going to name it guard 2. Okay. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to move over the main handles. And I believe that is it. Your weapon is now created. So now what you want to do is you want to extract it. So create a new folder in assets. Create folder, and I'll just name it 1 to keep it at the top just so it's easier to see. Video sword. So I have the video sword. I named it wrong, but it doesn't really matter. Now I get the video sword and I drag it down into here. Okay. Now the next important thing is the asset bundle. So you want to assign the asset bundle by clicking new. Of course you can't type in because it's bugged. So you click on it again. Then you add new and it allows you to type. And now I want to name it video sword. The names of these are very important, so please keep these in mind. Now, it's done. So you click on the Blade and Sorcery icon, and you build asset bundles. Now, because I have loads of asset bundles, this will usually take a long time. So in the meantime, I'm going to be creating a JSON for the item. So I will find Blade and Sorcery streaming assets. I will create a new folder. I'll name it video sword. Now I will go into any mod that's been created, copy the manifest file, paste it, and I'm going to edit it with Notepad++, which is my preferred software. And I'm gonna change the name this is just so it doesn't conflict with any other mod. Now, because it's a sword, you can either copy anyone else's item JSON for a sword, or you can go into default items, and then you go down, you copy what is similar. So for instance, right now sword 1 is similar. Then you go back to that folder, you copy it in and paste it, and then you rename it to your weapon. Then you right click it, you edit with Notepad. Now you change the name, so the text will be what it shows when you highlight the weapon, also what the name is in the book. So, and then the description shows what the description of the weapon is in the book. Then you change the author, etc. So storage category, for this one it's obviously going to be swords, but if it's a dagger, it'll be daggers, exotics, firearms, etc. So the prefab name is very important and you cannot screw this up. So the prefab name, remember when I told you to keep in mind the asset bundle name and the prefab name? Here it is. So the prefab name, you need to do the @ symbol, then you need to have the name of the bundle here. So the asset bundle name is video sword. Then you do a colon. Then you do the name of your prefab, which is video sword, and then you put .prefab at the end. Okay, now you can mess with these if you like, not very necessary, but you can edit them if you feel. Fly from throw, as I said earlier, is the direction if you wanted to throw your weapon from your hand for the fly direction. Now here comes to the main part. So these are exactly the same for the whooshing interactables if you have multiple of them. But for the damages, as you can see, I have Pierce 2. Of course, there's no Pierce 2 here. Pierce has to always be above slash and blunt, and slash has to be above blunt. That's because of the damaging order that the JSONs go through. So for Pierce, just below the Pierce for the blade, I will change the name. So the damager definition for PS2, because it's the handles, I will change the Damager ID to Dagger Pierce. Now, you can either create your own Damager IDs through either your knowledge or from my guide I made about making your own JSONs, or additionally, you can get a custom set one, which is found in the default folder, and then Damagers right here. Okay, so now that's done, I'll go back into the video sword, and it's not quite done in Unity yet. Now it should be very soon. As I said, it takes a while. Alright, so now it's done. You go into the folder called Asset Bundles. You find your prefab. You can just click on any old one, Show in Explorer. Now you find your file. So mine's video sorter bundle. You copy it and you drag it to this folder. Now it's done. Your weapon is now made successfully. You can of course change these depending on how heavy the weapon is. If it's a heavy weapon, you change this to like Whoosh Sword Heavy or Object Handle Heavy, I believe. And you can change all of these. I explained these in the item JSON guide. Okay, so now your weapon should work in game. If you ever wanted to edit your weapon, you just unpack the prefab and repeat the process of extracting the file again. I hope this guide helped. Good luck modding. I like to see more weapons from you guys in the future. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.